LCTV is your nonprofit community media station. Please donate at lctv.org to keep us strong. Thank you.
Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Talkin Town Talk. I'm your host Larry Sidelinger and we're in the studio here at LCTV, and this week we have a cast of characters. We have the play Now and Then that's going to be performed at the Waldo Theatre coming right up, and I'd like to introduce you to my guests. We have Peter Henderson, who is the director of the play, Cullen Burke, one of the actors, Dwight Burtis, another actor, Emma Theobald. If I got that right, Emma?
Tack an S on the end and you're there.
Theobalds, okay. And George Bates, who is the producer.
Correct.
Welcome and thank you for all coming in this afternoon.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So I'm going to find out all of your histories about being actors, but I want to talk to Peter because we've done this before, Pete.
We have.
About 6 months ago at the Waldo?
I think that's about right. Yeah.
About right. So is this your first attempt at directing?
Well, I think it may be my second attempt at directing. First one was in college, which was
a few years ago.
It was a few years ago. When you put
Many moons.
So it is really a new experience for me to take this role, which is not a role.
And what possessed you to want to do this?
George.
So I'll go to George Bates, the producer. Now he's the director, so he's telling everybody how to do their lines or whatever. What does the producer do in a play?
Right. The director has anything to do with the actors and acting. Essentially, a producer has to take care of everything else. If you think about a play as sort of a project, we start off with an idea. We talked with Susan Hodder, who's the executive director at the theater, about the idea, and it might be a great fit for the Waldo. She agreed. I talked to Peter to try to convince him to come and direct for us, because I had worked with him on Homeward Bound back in the fall, which I also produced. He said yes, and we sort of took it from there. So producing is everything from the sets to the scenic design, to the marketing, to the props, the crew, the lighting, the sound, the promotion.
Promotion,
right?
Which is huge.
Right, but we try to stay away mostly from trying to direct the actors or direct the production. That's up to Peter.
So how do you come up with, do you do a casting for the actors? I guess that's a question for Peter.
The answer to that is yes, and George definitely involved in that process. But for us as a community theater, open casting, wanting people to feel like they can come and try to be a part of a play is really one of the reasons the theater exists. It has that sense of wanting to attract people. So absolutely, we went through an open casting process. There was nobody who was guaranteed a role going in, and we had an amazing response with a lot of talented people from throughout the Midcoast area. And it was very difficult to select 4 actors from maybe 25 or 30
24,
we had
25.
Who auditioned, and I'm very pleased with the actors we have, one of whom isn't with us today, Lisa Kavanaugh, so I just want to mention her name, who's playing one of the 4 co-equal roles in this play. But yes, we went from casting to making the decisions to setting up audition to performance and rehearsal schedules, and we're near the tail end of that process of being ready.
It's almost showtime.
Yeah, it is.
So we'll go, Emma, let the ladies go first. Tell the folks at home a little about Emma and your acting experiences.
So I grew up locally, so had a lot of experience with local community theaters. My first musical was Annie when I was 8. Played an orphan and a hobo, which is an amazing amount of fun. I did theater all throughout school, mostly musical theater, and then after I graduated, I stuck with musical theater. And then I heard about this production going up, and I hadn't done a straight play in a very long time, so this was a new experience, really, for me, compared to musical theater, where you can kind of rely on the music to cradle you.
So
little
I'll
bit.
come back to you and tell us what your part in this, but I'll go
Sure.
to Dwight. What's your acting experience?
Well, back in the 80s, I worked in New York. I attended the National Shakespeare Company Conservatory back in those days. I stayed in New York for a few years, but like many actors, I realized that might not be how I want to live for the rest of my life, so I left. But I've been involved in theater off and on for all these years. I love community theater because it gives you a chance to meet so many people in the community that you might not meet otherwise. So that's who I am.
And Colin.
Yeah, I've got kind of the same story as Dwight. I didn't plan on going into acting, but I learned that I liked it, and I thought I was pretty good, so I went to New York and found out that I was not that good, or not as good as I thought, and eventually kind of tucked tail and moved back home. I ended up in Maine about 12 years ago, and I've been in some community theater, local theater, done some TV work and voiceover stuff here and there. But yeah, I enjoy it. It's a great, like Dwight said, opportunity to meet people and kind of create a team for a short period of time and get a project done and create something together, which is really nice.
So I guess this question will go out to Peter. This is, we talked about before, this is a comedy with a drama. So tell us a little bit. You don't have to tell us the whole play, but
I won't.
Give us a little sizzle for the folks at home.
Well, this is a very interesting play set in a bar in the 80s, almost all the time in the 80s.
I've done a few of those.
And it's set after hours, so it's not a rollicking, loud bar, but it has that kind of after hours feeling. There are, Larry, 2 characters, or are there 4, or are there 6? You know, there's
In a bar you can have a lot of characters.
Well, but this play is intended to be confusing in parts. Some amazing things happen out of what seems like a very routine situation. Beyond that, I think the heart of the play is about the people involved, the choices they make, the consequences of making choices, kind of what we hope for when we're young, what we perhaps settle for when we're older. The life experience that I think is common to almost all of us, hopefully plays out in an hour and 40 minutes.
So Emma, what's your part in the play?
I play Abby, who is a young waitress in love with Jamie. And she's well educated, she's clever, she's funny, she doesn't want to take anything that she doesn't feel she deserves. And so there are a lot of tough questions for her to answer in the play.
Interesting. And Dwight, your part.
I play Man.
You play Man.
I play Man.
What's his name?
And Man has to address a lot of issues and a lot of choices that he made when he was younger.
Don't we all?
Yes, indeed. And he gets a second chance. And
Well, I like that idea.
The play's about love in the end.
And Colin, you.
Yeah, I play a guy named Jamie, and
Who
he's
falls in love with Emma?
in love with Emma. He's a pianist, or trying to become a pianist, and trying to figure out, what path is the right one. And I think it's a pretty relatable character, because I think everybody's been faced by that choice at some point, and sometimes you pick the right one, sometimes you don't, and figuring out which is kind of the crux of the whole thing for everybody. So it's been a lot of fun, and like you said, it's about love, basically, so it's kind of a nice thing. I don't typically, in the past, I've been cast as kind of a bad guy or a loud, mean, and angry person, and I'm not that guy, so it's been nice to be in a show that's a little bit more warm.
So your sensuous side can come out a little
Yeah,
bit.
exactly.
You're softer side.
My softer, sensuous side.
That's good. George, what goes into making a play?
George is on your right. Yep.
Right, yeah.
Sorry.
What goes into making a play something special from a producer's point of view?
Well, I think, first of all, picking the right script. At the Waldo, we have certain confines. It's a smaller stage. We don't have much wing space. We don't have any storage space, so we can't be looking at plays that have lots and lots of scenes, lots and lots of changes, require a very big cast because we just don't have room for it. So first of all, picking a script, and then for me, and Peter will back up on this, I think a perfect script is a script that can both give you laugh out loud moments, but also give you moments where you choke up a little bit because you're seeing yourself or you're seeing someone you know on that stage, and it's creating a relevance to you. I think that makes a great play where you can identify with what's happening on the stage because it relates to your life experience.
Interesting. Peter, you've been on the stage in the Waldo several times. How do you find the audience response to the plays?
Well, it's certainly in my experience of doing Homeward Bound, which is the play you're referring to, it was fantastic. And you never know how many folks are going to come and how supportive they're going to be. But even when we didn't have our best nights, perhaps, they were right there. I think people genuinely enjoyed it. And the fact that they turn out, or at least for that show, as they did, I think says something about the community and the support they're willing to give the Waldo, and really just kind of the interest that there is in live theater. And that's, I think, really the attraction that we can offer folks. It's nothing beats the movies as far as the realism and the accuracy and all the technology that exists. But for me, and I think for an audience that comes out to see live theater, it's the shared nature of that experience. It's everybody's together in the room. You can hear people breathe. You feel the laughs. You perhaps see the tear that George is referring to, and it's very real. It's very immediate, and I think it's like nothing else. So I like to think that's why people come out to see live theater, and that's sort of the feedback we get from our audience. They're very supportive. They want to see us do well, and when we do well, they're happy.
As actors, do you get the same, I don't know if any of you are musicians or not, but do you get the same thrill as performing?
Two right here.
Two of them, okay. Well, then you've performed musically, then you understand the feedback from an audience that's really into a show and one that might not be.
Yeah.
And do you get that same rush, adrenaline rush, as an actor?
Absolutely. There's something about a live audience that when you perform for them, you're giving a piece of yourself to them, something that you can't take back, but something that they can certainly take with them. And so there's a lot of energy exchange in a live audience that, they're giving you the encouragement to feed their soul. And that's the same if you're playing music or singing to an audience, and it's the same if you're acting your heart out, in a theater. It's a very, very similar experience.
I think the wow factor that you get, at least from the musical, I've done a lot of musicals and stuff, the wow factor that you get when you go to, you see a great band or a great performance, and you take that, like you say, you take that with you. Do you find that?
I think that live theater is inherently intimate. You are intimate with your audience. It's immediate, it's there. Whatever's going to happen on that stage is live. It's not going to get fixed in the film or in the cutting room.
There's no cutting room.
There's no room for anything but truth. It comes out. And that intimate relationship, especially in this beautiful little theater, it's just very intimate. The acoustics is natural. It's a lovely environment to work.
And how about yourself, Colin?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, like you were saying, the energy is, with a live performance, it's just different. There's a momentum that if it's going the right direction, the audience starts to pick up on it. They become a character in the show. You're vibing off of their vibe, and then it really carries you through the whole thing. The opposite can happen too. If they're not into it, or you're screwing up on the stage, they pick up on that too, and it can kind of build on itself, and in a bad way, and it can kind of carry you through in that direction.
That never happens.
But even when it does happen, it's kind of electric. You know, there's an electricity through the whole process that is that only comes with a live audience.
And I'll throw this out there. Is there anything better than a standing audience, a standing ovation at the end of a show? Is there anything better?
Yes.
Okay.
Not forgetting your lines.
Well, we've actually had some people here that have done well on the big screen. I've had a chance to interview them and hear the background of how. I said, how do you remember all this stuff from one day to the next? And she said, well, we have props and things like that. Annabelle Net from CSI was one of my guests one time, and I was fascinated listening to tell her how the big time does it and the millions of dollars it takes to do it.
If I may just add on
Sure.
that, we talked about wanting to attract actors, potential actors for future productions, and the number one question people have is, how am I going to learn the lines? It's a universal thing.
It would keep me from doing it.
Well-
If I haven't got this here, if I haven't got a cheat sheet, I'm in trouble.
So I mean, it's the hard work behind the fun and the presentation that happens, and there's, it's no, unless we find a way to put chips in people's heads or something, it's just hard work to learn the lines, and that's really the effort. And these three actors and Lisa have done an amazing job in a complex script with very intricate timing of the lines. And as Emma will tell you, a lot of kind of repeat lines where it's variations on the theme, but if you don't get them right, it's wrong and you get off. So
You can't really ad lib in this.
well,
It's a very tricky
Tell them
play.
Do
very, very tricky.
actors, and as a director, Peter, do you have actors say, well, I think it ought to go this way, it ought to go that way?
no,
Or I feel
no,
more
that
comfortable with it?
never would happen.
I just want to make sure I got that.
No,
All right.
I mean, to give you a more direct answer, I mean, I've never had anyone, in my experience or my sense of being challenged, but I think the nature of what is done is cooperative, is collegial. It's, here's what I think, what do you think? Try this, try that. And certainly actors should do that, and they do that. They'll come to me, I assume, come to other directors and say, this doesn't feel right, can I try it this way? Or how about I give you a whole different idea of how to say these words? I mean, so that's an absolutely essential part of the rehearsal process. And then at the end of the process, as we get there, and I mentioned it to these folks the other night, it's theirs. And this is something new for me, surrendering to the folks that are on stage and letting them take the production and bring it home, because it is up to the actors to make this stuff happen. The idea that they're the stars, I don't mean in any kind of ego sense, but they're the folks that are up there. They're out there on that ice that can get pretty thin, and the strength that they draw from each other is really kind of cool to see.
As actors, have you ever had that panic attack where you,
Every day.
every day, where the line, it's there, but what is it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think, and that's kind of what's fun about it is, there's a little bit of like that skydiving mentality where like you're going out there and you can't yell time out and stop and go talk to the coach and get a new play and draw it up different or whatever. You're out there, once it's up, lights are going, you're on. And that collaborative aspect is kind of, where it becomes fun and memorizing the lines. Yeah, it's hard work, but it's like you're doing it for a reason. You want to get it right. And there is no right or wrong, really. And you don't have the answer right away. So even though you get the script, you get cast, you get the script and you start reading it, it's not like you know who the character is that moment. So through the whole process, you are going to the director being like, hey, should I do this way? Should I go that way? How do you want me to do this? And that's part of the discovery aspect, because like you're figuring out who that character is through the entire process, up until the character in my mind shouldn't be fully formed until probably the last performance. By the time you say the last line, maybe you know who your character is. you have an idea, you have a ghost, you have a structure for him or her or them, but you never really know who it is. It's whoever you are, and then you bring that to the character for every performance. I'm talking too much. You go.
No, that's quite all right. So,
like a cast.
So I know you and Peter have worked together, George.
Right.
Have any of you three worked together before?
No.
Did you know each other before
No.
this?
Nope.
No, although we almost auditioned him for my band.
Right.
a few months before
I'm a
we
horn
auditioned
player.
for this. Yeah. So small towns.
Interesting. So you brought strangers together, and
No longer strangers.
no longer strangers.
Well, and that's a big part of the beauty of community theater.
I was just going to ask that, George.
And it's not just for the actors. The thing about community theater is nobody here is making money. Nobody here is getting paid. Everybody's volunteering their time. The people who build the sets, who put the sets together, who do the costumes, who do the lighting, who do the sound, they're all from the community. There's a group of about 22 people. There are 4 actors and
you
about...
took my question. I was going to ask,
Right.
how many people behind the scenes does it take to make this?
It's about 22 people. And I did want to comment briefly on the learning lines, et cetera, and the experience of these guys. I wish Lisa could have been here today because Lisa is a first-time actress. She has never appeared on the stage acting before. But one of the things about the Waldo is when we ask you to come in for an audition, we don't have you bring a resume, we don't have you bring a headshot. We ask you to come in, we ask you to go on the stage and show us what you can do.
Grip it and rip it.
And she delivered, so she got the role. So anyone watching this who's thinking, community theater, you know, I always kind of wanted to, but I don't know if I could learn the lines, I don't know if I could get a part, I don't have any experience. Come to the Waldo and audition. Come to the Waldo and be part of the crew, because we're putting on 3 shows this year and would love to have you join the group.
So tell us when those shows are, and we'll put that up on the screen for you folks at home. But when are they? When is the play Now and Then going to be?
Okay,
aired?
Now and Then will premiere on Saturday, the 30th of March, which is the day before Easter. We have a matinee. And then the following weekend, April 5, 6, and 7, we have evening shows on Friday and Saturday. And then on the 7th, there's a matinee on that Sunday.
Interesting. Before I forget it, I want to shout out. We've been blessed to put on, I think, 3 or 4 musical concerts at the Waldo, and the staff over there is phenomenal. Eddie Holm and Oren there, the lighting, and just incredibly talented. And I'm sure you've had that opportunity to work with them.
Right, and the other thing about the Waldo is there are 4 employees at the Waldo. Everyone else is a volunteer. If you go to see a show, most of the people you see there
Are
are
volunteers.
volunteering their time. Yeah.
Well, we've been super fortunate because as if you've played in bands, you know, sound checks can be challenging sometimes. And Eddie is just so easygoing. I'm a nervous wreck, and I just have to leave. I went to Moody's last time, but it's so good. So before we wrap this up, Peter, tell the folks at home why they should come and see Now and Then.
Well, I think they should come to see a play that is probably new to them, that will provide them with an experience that is somewhat unpredictable. We would hope that they will let us entertain them in the sense of engaging in a pretty complex kind of mind play where things happen that aren't expected. The full circle on that, though, as has been mentioned here, is that this is a play, I think, about love between people, about the nature of long-term relationships. I think that folks should come to see the show to experience that kind of love and depth of feeling just for humanity. At the core of this play is a lot of heart, I think, of people who aren't perfect and don't have perfect relationships, but at the end, they find a way to make it make sense for them.
So one thing I didn't want to forget to ask, what do you folks do, the actors do in real life for entertainment or for careers?
I produce a podcast called School of War for Nebulous Media. And then on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I make sandwiches at my sister-in-law's sandwich shop in Camden.
Cool. Emma?
I work for Epifanis North America. It's a paint and varnish company, a Dutch company that we import and distribute for North America.
I've used that varnish on my boat many times.
I'm happy to hear it.
And Dwight?
I'm a retired cop, 36 years.
At what force?
Well, Portland Police Department, York County Sheriff's Office, and the Knox County Sheriff's Office, which is where I
good for you.
retired
Well,
just
thank
a
you
year and a
for
half
your
ago.
service.
Thank you.
Thank you. George, you don't make a full-time job producing plays.
I do not. I'm actually a creative director for a marketing company, which I can kind of apply a bunch of those skills that I have
Sure you
there to the work that I do at the Waldo and to this production.
That's great. Well, folks, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank
I
you.
don't. Is
Thank
there
you.
anything else
Thank
I've left out here? That,
If I have the
Sure, you
30
can.
seconds,
Yeah,
I'll
we
tell you.
sure
Just
do.
a quick shout out to the leader of our band, who's Susan Hodder, who is the executive director of the Waldo. She is an amazing force of nature. She
is indeed.
She obviously has a number of people that are a part of the
and
of
she has a
the
great
effort,
team behind her.
but she's amazing. So, if nothing else, people should come to the Waldo to get to know Susan better. The other thing I'm going to add quickly, if I may, on George, he talked about his role as producer. And in this production, it's amazing. This is the guy who makes fresh Rice Krispie treats for every rehearsal.
For every rehearsal.
For every rehearsal.
Because
How
it's
often
in
do
the
you get
script.
together to
He's
rehearse?
designed the set. He's done a lot of the carpentry to build the set. He's done the promotion. He's dealt with me. He has been amazing and what he's brought to this production, to this theater, and for no dough.
Well, great. Well, thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Peter.
So you folks at home, this has been another episode of Talkin' Town Talk. I've been your host, Larry Sidelinger, and today we have the cast and the director and producer for the play Now and Then that's going to go on at the Waldo Theatre here in another week. The director, Peter Henderson, George Bates, the producer, and cast of Cullenberg, Emma Theobalds, and Dwight Burtis. I got it all?
You
You
got
got
it.
us.
Great. Folks, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time next time at the Talkin' Town Talk show. Don't know where we're gonna be, but we'll be somewhere down the road. You can bet your soul on that. Catch you next time.
LCTV is your nonprofit community media station. Please donate at lctv.org to keep us strong. Thank you.